Let's go live. Guys, can you hear me? Bop, 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 bop. Boodly, boodly, bop, boop, zip, bop. Zip, bop, and boot, and scoodly, boot, and bop. Looks like we've got, all right. Yes, I am swearing up a storm, ladies and gentlemen. Can anybody hear me? There he is. Tori, can you hear me? Let's hear that goddamn story. That goddamn story. God damn it. All right, we're going to try one more time. And also, I'm completely washed out camera-wise, but we're not recording, so screw it. You know why I'm washed out? Because I have a constant nimbus and a halo, bitches. That's why. We're going to give this one more shot. A will scream at me if there is a major problem. Let's get teleprompter up. One more try. Here we go. SLAY episode, just out of curiosity. We'll try recording. Can you still hear me? No recording. And let's get into it. Boom. SLAY episode number 5. Previously on SLAY. Lincoln Franks, also known as the Man in Gray, killed Dmitry Ivanko, who had murdered a teenage girl and was about to kill a second. Franks cut off Dmitry's head, storing it in a box covered with runes. Lincoln then performed a second mission for Callista, a criminal boss who appears to be tied into the supernatural underworld. For her, Lincoln drove Russian mobster Dante Oganov out of town, after which we learned that Lincoln is forced to do Callista's bidding because Lincoln's son, Samuel, is in a magical realm known as the Shelf. And there, Callista's influence is the young boy's only protection against untold evils. We learned that Lincoln was once a soldier for the Bastion, a mysterious group that hunts monsters. Lincoln now works solo, killing for whoever can afford his skills. Lincoln's bad day continued when he visited his father, Jacoby, in the old folks' home. There, Lincoln had a run-in with his younger brother Lucas and his older sister Sophia, who still work for the Bastion. Sophia urged Lincoln to stay off the gobbers, an unknown drug, and to avoid the influence of someone named Magda. Drinking heavily, Lincoln hopped on his motorcycle and headed for home. And the Schwarmy sound isn't working. Dag nabbit. Nothing's working today. All right, here we go. No Schwarmy sound. I'll make it. Lincoln picked himself up off the pavement. He wasn't the praying type, but he gave a quick mental thank you to whatever power might be in charge that week. If he'd lost his balance like that on the highway, he'd have been bloody streaks on a concrete divider, ending in a mangled mass of meat easily mistaken for the remains of a large, unfortunate dog. As it was, he'd laid the bike down while turning into his driveway. He wiped gravel and bits of dry grass from his face. Weeds had long ago grown through the cracks in the pavement. He kept meaning to clean them up, but hadn't gotten around to it. There were a lot of things he hadn't gotten around to. The old church's windows were still boarded shut, those boards covered in graffiti. Regular graffiti, thankfully, not the magical kind. The once illuminated, now dark sign out front still had the service hours listed, along with a handful of letters slotted in, but most of those letters lie in the patchy, overgrown grass around it. What a find the old church had been. It had closed down decades ago from a combination of lack of funds and the neighborhood going from good to bad to worse to non-existent. It had lain fallow, mostly, ever since. Even though it had been abandoned, even though it required extensive repairs, most of which still needed to be done, it had cost a fortune. A fortune to him, at least. Hell, when you've embraced a vow of poverty most of your life, maybe any home costs a fortune. The bills kept piling up, the place kept falling apart, and the list of to-dos grew longer by the day. But the old stone church had that classic requisite of real estate. Location, location, location. Not the immediate surroundings, of course. The nearby houses that remained standing were rotted or burned out shells, and the crumbling old factory was a far cry from its greatest generation glory days. The church's special access, however, could not be beat, especially in Lincoln's line of work. He rolled his motorcycle up the concrete handicap access ramp. With his fingertip, he traced rune patterns on the red, chipped paint of the century-old oak door. The silent sizzle of energy made the hairs of his arms stand on end. The door swung inward. He rolled his bike through, parked it in the entryway next to the votive candle thingy, and only then did he hear the tiny growl that told him he wasn't alone. A man stood with his back against the arched double doors that led into what had once been the nave. He wore a cheap plaid suit and clutched a black canvas attaché case to his chest as if the bag's colorful enamel sci-fi pins might offer some level of protection. He stared down at the source of the growl, a dachshund, long and thin, purple bow clipped to her black collar. "Call her off," the man said in a tiny voice. "Please." "You brought it on yourself, Cantrell." Lincoln plugged in his bike, then opened his hard case and pulled out his armor and cloak. "You walk uninvited into a place that is a guard dog, what do you think is going to happen? Guard dog, gonna guard." Dylan Cantrell's wide eyes flipped up from the dachshund to Lincoln. "But you invited me. You told me to be here at 4 a.m. It's..." He slowly, carefully moved his right hand, peeked at his watch. "It's 5:15. I called Magda to help, but she ignored me. I've been standing here over an hour." Damn. Dylan was right. Lincoln had forgotten. He could hear a movie playing in the nave, but not loud enough to drown out Dylan's cries for help. Magda had undoubtedly heard the man and ignored him. "I lost track of time," Lincoln said. "My bad." He knelt on one knee. "Dragon, come here, girl." The dachshund turned, pink tongue dangling, eyes bright with joy, her little feet scurrying across the floor. She jumped into Lincoln's arms and licked his face as if her life depended on it. "Take it easy, girl," Lincoln said. But in truth, he didn't want her to. He'd had an absolute shit-filled eclair of a day. Coming home to 15 pounds of unbridled love was a special thing. Everyone else in the world might take turns driving him into the dirt, but not Dragon. "Send her away," Dylan said. "You and I have business to discuss." "She lives here. You don't." Lincoln squinted his left eye shut against the dog's onslaught. "You asked me to come," Dylan said, "as a personal favor. Remember?" Lincoln had forgot about that as well. He lowered Dragon to the ground. "Go find Magda," he said. The tiny tube of energy shot away, wee claws clacking against the floor's chipped tiles, and disappeared through a dog-sized slot cut into the base of the nave doors. Lincoln stood. "Yeah, I remember. Thanks for coming. It's been a hell of a day, man." "I'm sure it has." Dylan lowered his case and stepped away from the doors, lest Dragon come ripping through and surprise him. "You have the deliverable?" Lincoln draped his cloak across the bike seat. He reached into the fabric's there, not there folds and retrieved the rune box. Dylan opened his attaché case and held it out. "You don't want to check?" Lincoln asked. Cantrell's nose wrinkled. "If you say it's the head of Dmitri Vanko, I believe you." "By which you mean you can't stand the sight of blood." "Whatever." Dylan gave his bag a shake. "Do you mind?" Lincoln put the rune box into the bag, brushing against a pin of the USS Nostromo logo and another with the odd, circular, white-on-black insignia of the Empire from Star Wars. The box was far too big to fit, but it slid in anyway. Such was the nature of things. Dylan closed the bag. "I know you hate going to the island, but you have to start dropping off these bounties yourself." Excuse me. I'm going to get a cough drop. Good thing we're not recording. This is what being sick will do for you, ladies and gentlemen. All right, there we go. Let's do Dylan's line again. Dylan closed the bag. I know you hate going to the island, but you had to start dropping these bounties off yourself. I'm a lawyer, not an errand boy. Oh, the reward. He reached into his bag, came out with a paper cylinder about the size of a soda can. The bounty was 40 gold. I subtracted our 10%. He had put the exact amount in a paper sleeve. Of course he had, because that was what Dylan was all about. Listen, Lincoln said. Can you do me a favor? Dylan glared. Another favor, you mean? Yeah, another favor. The man sighed. All right, what is it? It's a two-parter. Can you contact Bingles and give 7 of these coins to him? Tell him to keep the change. Cantrell's nostrils flared. Wow. Every time I see that disgusting little man, he tells me I would look positively delicious in a tutu and 6-inch silver pumps. I assure you, I have no interest in either him or wearing a tutu. What about the silver pumps? Mind your own business. The other part of the favor? Can you drop the rest of this off at the bank? I'm behind on my mortgage. The lawyer in the plaid suit glanced up at the ceiling, at a water stain older than he was, and at the wall behind the votive rack, which had fist-sized divots of crumbling plaster. Yeah, a foreclosure on this wonderful place would be such a tragedy. Can you do it or not? Dylan put the roll of coins back in his bag. It's almost as if you'll do anything to avoid going to the island. It's got nothing to do with that, Lincoln said. I've had a hell of a day, that's all. Dylan smiled a thin-lipped smile. Well then, I suppose I'll run your errands for you. Will you be asking for any other favors of me? Lincoln shook his head. No, and I owe you one. I've lost count of how many you owe me. Considering you need money, you want to take a look at the binder before I go? The eagerness in his voice. The law firm of Cantrell and Cantrell did love its 10%. Sure, Lincoln said. Anything new? Dylan nodded. A few. New bounties are always in the front. He reached into the attaché case, came out with a heavy tome bound in ancient leather made of human skin, with the words, Baphomet's Big Binder of Bounties burned into it. Dylan flipped it open. Inside, hundreds of pages of thick parchment held in place by 3 rings carved from bone. The first page showed a sketch of a winged creature with a long tail and a long neck that ended in a thick, wide, tooth-filled mouth. There's a wyvern in Wyoming, Dylan said. That's new. He flipped the page. Oh, how about a kabouter in Kampen? Kampen? The Netherlands, Dylan said. Do you speak campers? Lincoln huffed. Do I speak campers so I can kill the kabouter in Kampen? That's what I asked. No, Lincoln said. I don't speak campers. I can hook you up with a used babblefish, half price. Lincoln wondered what Cantrell and Cantrell's markup on a half-priced babblefish was. Probably pretty damn good. Dylan's parents didn't miss a beat. Dylan flipped the pages. The next few are all in the patchwork. There's a manicore, a Cerberus that's slurping up socialites, and a tarantula monkey thing's terrorizing a forest. Lincoln looked at the sketch. Fangs the size of his legs. A tarantula monkey thing? It doesn't have a name? It's new, Dylan said. They haven't classified it yet. It's supposed to be really nasty. Wow, Lincoln, 500 gold pieces. Are you interested? Another trip into the patchwork to kill yet another horrible thing? No thanks. He'd done his time in that game. I'm looking to stay terrestrial, Lincoln said. Any bounty yet on Timmy Two Fingers? Dylan slowly closed the book. Here we go. Timmy's protected, Lincoln. You know that. I'm sorry he took your boy and sold him on the shelf, but you can't go after him. Lincoln's jaw clenched. For all the killing he'd done, and he had done a lot of killing. He had never known hate like he felt for Tommy Two Fingers. Someday, he would get that bastard. Take the wyvern in Wyoming, Dylan said. Pay Take the wyvern in Wyoming, Dylan says. Pay 75 gold. Apparently, he's a pain in the ass for some connected ranchers out there. Lincoln had never been to Wyoming. Sure, I'll take that one. I have a job to do first, though. Dylan's eyes narrowed. A job? Let me guess. For Callista? Lincoln said nothing. You really should have let Mom and Dad look over that contract, Dylan said. Or at least me. I mean, I'm not them, but I'm no slouch. Time for you to go, Dylan. You mind walking me out? You know where the bathroom is. Dylan glanced down to the dog door. I'd rather not be alone in this place. Thank you very much. Sure, Lincoln said. I got you. He followed Dylan down the hall. The overhead light flickered. Yet another thing to add to the to-do list. At the men's bathroom door, Cantrell stopped and turned. One more thing, he said. The Bastion reached out to Cantrell and Cantrell. They somehow believe we're your law firm, not just your bounty booker. The monks want you back. They can want all they like. Be careful, Lincoln, Cantrell said. The Bastion doesn't like competition, especially from one of their own. Tell them to go fuck themselves. Lincoln pushed the bathroom door open, held it. But you know, in lawyer terms. Do lawyers know how to make go fuck yourself sound all pretty and such? The man laughed. We lawyer types have many, many ways to do just that. Good day, Lincoln. Dylan walked into the bathroom. Lincoln returned to his bike, slung the cloak over his shoulder, and gathered up his armor. The left nave door was jammed shut, had been even before he'd bought the place, so he went through the right. The big room was mostly dark. Colored light from the projector screen bounced against the peaked ceiling, reflected off the old stained glass windows, or at least the few panes that had somehow escaped decades of delinquents throwing rocks and bricks. On the 20-foot screen that hung in front of the pulpit, a man in dark, round glasses shot up bad guys. The sound came from a used Marshall guitar amp that Magda had hooked up to the projector. The place was a mess, as always. He could smell the stale Bud Light in the cup sitting on the beer pong table. Another smell, too, acrid and nose-wrinkling, but he couldn't place it. The single trash can was overflowing and topped by 16 pizza boxes. A new record. Crushed cans and empty booze bottles reflected the projector's light. Between Lincoln and the screen was the back of a moth-eaten couch. Hey, Magda, Lincoln said. What are you watching? Dragon shot over the couch and rushed to him, yipping and running in tight circles around his legs. Lincoln dropped the armor and picked up the dog, squinted and turned his face against the barrage of licks. Magda sat up, looked over the back of the couch. The professional, she said. Again? You know Gene Reno makes my cooter tingle. Some things I don't need to know, Lincoln said. Magda looked like ass. Her eyes were half-lidded. Her hair was all over the place, as if she'd started to weave it into dreads, then Her hair was all over the place, as if she'd started to weave it into dreads, then stopped partway through. The light from the movie made odd shadows on the 3 ragged, parallel scars that angled down her right cheek. You pick up a dozen eggs like I asked? Crap, Lincoln said. I forgot. At least tell me you got that tail of newt. God damn it. He'd forgot that too. You are a lazy fuck, Magda said. I was working. Are you working on making tomorrow's breakfast? She raised a pint of Jim Beam, took a slug. No? Well, guess what, working man? Without some eggs, neither am I. And as for that enhanced armor spell, without that tail of newt, it ain't nothing but boiled cat piss. Ah, boiled cat piss. That was the other smell. Why'd you let Dylan stand out there for an hour? Because lawyers are pricks, Magda said. Besides, Dragon had it covered. Lincoln walked around the couch, sat next to his roommate. I want to watch something else, he said. And I was here first. And I'm the one that pays the mortgage. And I'm the one that's telling you to suck it. Magda leaned over the side of the couch, opened the dorm fridge there, and handed Lincoln a beer. Thanks, he said. More where that came from. Looks like you could use it. He eased back. Felt good to be home. Dragon's bright eyes stared up at the bottle. Lincoln poured some into his cupped hand, let the dog lap it up. How was work? Magda asked. I had to rouse Dante out of town. That Miami douchebag? Did you kill his goblin ass? Nope, Lincoln said. Why not? Because that's what Callista wanted me to do, but she didn't come out and say so. You better stop messing with that harpy, Link, Magda said. She gives you a job, you do the job. You don't like the way I work? Come with me next time. Magda stared at the screen. She took a long hit of booze. I can't, she said. You know I can't. He did know that. He felt like an asshole for suggesting otherwise. Maybe someday she'd get back out there, but it wouldn't happen anytime soon. Callista gave me another job, he said. Make sure I'm up before noon, will you? It's important. Sure thing, Magda said. I got you, boo. And I got you a present. He reached into the cloak draped over his shoulder, found the shotgun he'd taken from that dumbass kid who tried to shoot him, offered it to Magda. For home defense, in case Dragon ain't up to it. Magda took the shotgun, looked it over. Caltech KSG. Nice. She tossed the gun across the room. It landed on the floor, skidded across the tile to slide up against a haphazard stack of weapons. Can't make breakfast with it, but nice. Magda Magdalene was his roommate and his best friend. She was also kind of a bitch. Got you something else. Lincoln reached into his pocket, offered her the bag of gobbers. Magda sat up. Now you're talking. She took one of the colorful clusters out of the bag, popped it in her mouth. She took a second, held it up. She took a second gobber, held it up in a pantomime of a basketball player making a jump shot. You win, Link? Gobbers are more fun when we share the experience. He tilted his head back, opened his mouth. She tossed the gobber. It landed on his tongue. And the Pistons win at the buzzer, Magda said. He sucked at the everlasting gobstopper, waited for the hallucinations to begin. While he did, he took the bow off Dragon's collar and tossed it on the coffee table in front of the couch. Didn't I tell you to stop putting bows on Dragon? She hates that shit. Magda raised an eyebrow. She loves that shit, Link. She brought the bow to me, mind you. Who am I to deny her happiness? Lincoln didn't believe that for a second, but he was too tired to argue. Oh, snap, Magda said. I'm feeling it. You feeling it? For a few seconds, Lincoln wondered if the gobber might be a dud. Then a smiling 8-bit banana rose up from behind the coffee table and started dancing. Hell's blood, Magda. Were you watching old YouTube videos again? Magda laughed, clapped her hands. Peanut butter jelly time, peanut butter jelly time. Get ready, Link. I also watched The Shining and Wizard of Oz. He heard a haunting twin voice say, Come play with us, Danny, forever and ever. He looked to the beer pong table, saw two spooky girls in blue dresses bouncing a ping pong ball into cups. The garbage can rustled. Green-haired, orange-skinned little men wearing white overalls pushed the pizza boxes aside, crawled out, and started dancing with the banana. Hell's blood, Lincoln said. It was his fault, though. If he was going to gobber it up with Magda, he should have asked her what was on her mind before diving in. Magda turned off the professional, even though Jean Renew made her cooter tingle, and called up videos of 90s pop metal. As dawn broke, the rest of the morning disintegrated into a kaleidoscope chaos of shared hallucinations. There you go. Got through it. Thank you, Josh. Come on up, baby. What a fucking disaster. But I got through the story, entertained your asses, hopefully. I'm having, I'm having mixed emotions on the story. Like today, I like the story. Yesterday, all I did was complain to my amazing wife how much I hated the fucking story. So there you go. Let's get a check on, see how everybody's doing. Oh, you gotta be kidding me. This ain't, oh, you sons of bitches. Now I know why things were working. All kinds of problems going on, you guys. We're going to get this figured out, though. Boom. Boom. Not working at all. There we go. The controls are working now. He's going to come on in. We're going to chat with you. Obviously, it's about 7 minutes long. So that worked out pretty good. That was about 30 minutes of reading. I will absolutely get more dialed in on this as we go. Thank you so much. Yeah, you're right, Sean. Boiled cat piss is a unique smell. Sean, are the gobbers one way? Gobbers or everlasting gobstoppers, they are a drug that causes hallucinations, but everybody who does the drug together has the same hallucination. So as you can imagine, this can go wonderfully well or horribly, horribly, horribly wrong.
I think I need a mic.
Yep, let's get you dialed in, Sweet Pea. It's going to take a minute to get us dialed in, you guys. This is what happens when you have all this stuff set up and then you have to restart.
I thought I was a baller.
What's that, babe?
I thought I was a baller.
I wish I was a little bit taller. Let's go to main, get us dialed in. There we go.
I don't know what you're talking about. This is fine. Look at this. It's pretty low profile.
Oh my gosh, there's so many problems today. Talk to the ladies and people.
Hi, ladies and people. I wasn't sure. I thought this lipstick might be a little bit too bright for my very pasty skin tone, but my mother told me just now by text that it was fine.
My mother told me not to cry.
So we're going to do this, I think.
Nope. Don't do that yet.
Okay.
There we go. There's that one. And now we should be back to... God damn. Oh, what the hell is going on?
I don't know.
There we go.
There we go.
Happy Wednesday, you bunch of animals.
Yeah,
all right.
This is totally fine, baby.
All right, there we go.
This will help.
Got a little, I took advantage of my sick time, did a little office rearranging. So, none of that was the problem. I don't know what the technical issue is with OBS, but we will work on it. We'll get it figured out. Can you hear okay, sweetheart?
I can.
Great.
How are you guys? I appreciate we are trying so hard to dial in our business, but obviously
Thank you, David.
This is the whole machine in this house. You know, we definitely appreciate all of our technical advisors, including mostly Steve Rickeberg, but we don't have them here in this house with us. So
also,
we appreciate you guys being patient as we
I'm
sort it out.
gonna cop an excuse. I haven't been feeling very well.
Dude,
I worked so many hours at the mill, and the coal dust has filled up my lungs, Papa. I simply don't know what I will...
You guys, I know he's fronting, and he's like, yeah, I've been so sick. Now, y'all all know he had COVID in the summer, last summer, in July of 2022. But I'm not sure I've seen him take an actual whole sick day since he moved to San Diego in 2014, except for he got quite sick in 2017 after DragonCon. And I think he took a day that day, but he used it to rearrange his apartment. So I don't think that counts.
That doesn't count. So we got a couple things to go over real quick, ladies and gentlemen.
We do.
All right. First of all, where are we at, Honey Bunny?
Well,
newsletter. We just did sign a newsletter. It's great. It's fancy. It's the fanciest goddamn newsletter you've ever seen. So you should sign up for that shit. ScottSigler.com/newsletter. Also, info to empty set. We're so close to launching the new website, by which I mean we are hounding the vendors constantly to fix, and turn on that light, man.
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to.
It's on the top.
Oh, it's okay.
Or the top or the bottom, one of the two. Bang.
There we go.
So that will go soon. When the new website launches, it's a Shopify site. We are going to offer 10% coupon off on the entire store, and all you have to do to get that 10% coupon is text SIGTEXT to 855-955-5095.
How do I change the color?
It's the middle button, babe. It was already brown, I think. It's the middle button, babe. There you go.
I'm just going to leave it alone. Fuck it.
You know what?
We'll do it live.
We're doing it live. This is a crappy...
Oh, I just had to back up a little bit. Now it looks like I have features other than eyebrows.
All right, and that's it for the text. And then lastly, but not least, God, babe, why adjust your color a little bit? Boom.
So we, as you guys know, our good pal who I just mentioned, Steve Rickenberg, the first Saturday of every month, he runs a 7-hour long, I think, Zoom happy hour, virtual happy hour. We missed it last week because we attempted to go to a lacrosse game. And Scott was already getting sick. Fun. So now I feel a little bit bad that we went. However, we were safe. We were right up against the glass. So we got to wear masks unless we were facing forward and whatever. I will tell you 2 things while he fusses with the lighting. One, at one point, now I'm a big hockey fan, but I've never been to a lacrosse game. And so this was my first lacrosse game, but we were at the glass. And at some point, Scott turns to me and he's like, "Can you please just pound on the glass like a decent human being?" With all that in his face, all that drama in his face. And I was just like... I forgot. I've never been at the glass in even a hockey game, so I forgot. So I did that.
Papa blew some coin, and we went to a lacrosse game,
really
San Diego
fun.
Seals.
It was
they won.
Really fun.
They beat Vancouver. I don't know the Vancouver team's nickname. But no one in our section, except for the guy on my right who was wearing a Seals jersey, had any fucking idea how pro lacrosse worked.
Well, this is a lie. Scott, you were here. Cheers.
Cheers, baby girl.
Absolutely lying, because the gentleman sitting next to me in the first 2 quarters, and then, or the first half, in the beginning, and then next to Scott after we came back after getting food,
Brandley?
Knew quite literally nothing about lacrosse, except he knew which team to cheer for. So he would do many things like this, and I'm gonna do like the quiet whisper cheer. He would be like, "Are there any times out? Are there times out in lacrosse? Like, get that home! What's happening? What's happening? Is that a goal? Is that a foul? Is there a penalty box?" Like, he had no idea what was happening, but he knew his job was to scream for the Seals. And he did that marginally well. He also put his beer on the railing. And of course, the
one
teams
large
came
man
up and
hit another large man into the glass.
And they got showered. And he was perfect. He was like, I guess I should have saw that coming. I was like, you don't know anything about lacrosse or sports in general. I feel so much better.
The only thing he and I knew, I know a little bit about lacrosse, like a little bit. I'm not being, it's not a humble brag. I actually know a tiny bit about lacrosse. And the only thing he and I agreed on the whole night was, because first of all, I didn't want to cry. He's like, "Number 25, kick his goddamn bitchy ass." And I'm like, there's no 25 on the field. "Number 25, kill him." I'm like,
did that
let it go.
3 times.
Let it go. The only thing we agreed on,
28.
There was a goal, and we both looked at it. He's like, "Where'd that go?" I'm like, 5 hole. He's like, 5 hole? 5 hole. So we both knew that goal went through the 5 hole.
It was super fun. I'm not sure we should have gone because the next day Scott was quite sick. So we're not sure what happened there, but it worked out.
All right. So, Junkie Meetup, give him a holler on this.
We
you already did that.
Yep.
All right, cool. Let's get into, it's been a while. It's been a minute. We're going to get into pup dates. Here we go. First of all, ladies and gentlemen, it's been a while since you have seen my awesome, lovely dogs. There is Squeaks.
Oh, that is at Auntie Rebecca's house.
Auntie Rebecca, who has, I call this composition the evil shadow of Squeaks. Who knows what evil lurks in the shadow of the hearts of dogs?
This might have been the first outing that we made after we were vaccinated in 2021. We drove up. We had been sort of bubbling with 2 couples in the Bay Area, and we went to visit them. And we didn't do a lot because it wasn't really safe to do a lot, but we did take a handful of hikes. One was supposed to be a mile-long hike, and it ended up being like a 5-mile-long hike. And then the dogs did nothing but sleep for the rest of the time.
Ready for the big pup pick?
Yep.
Okay. There we go.
Oh, Cordelia! You guys may know this is the newest, quote-unquote, office pup. We have this little pack with the goddamn dog sitters, Amy and Jim, and they have Stella and now Cordy, who they got in the pandemic in 2020. She is the sweetest little lunkhead. She's got this big triangular shark head. She's the sweetest. I need to help you do no matter what you're doing. I can do it. I can sous chef for you. I can pick up poop from the other dogs, or at least try whatever it is. She wants to help you. She's the sweetest.
She's a just adorable, adorable pup. All right. So now it's also been a minute since we touched base with all y'all and celebrated some all y'all's goodness.
Yeah. So this is going to be
baby?
Yeah. I can't seem. I must have not saved it in the right place because I can't seem to find the list.
Thank God I'm not the only one who trashed this episode.
Today is the big
feel
day.
better now. I feel much better.
Today's the big day for us screwing it up. So I'm going to wing it. But it's going to be easy,
Ready?
I think. Yeah.
Boom! What do we got here?
Okay, so I mentioned this to Daryl in the chat room. You guys know and love Daryl and Jennalia, and you've met their daughter and their new now, of course, son-in-law, Conklin, and their daughter, Anadeli. I still don't know if it's Anadeli or Anadale, but I feel like it's Anadeli because of the E's. Forgive me if I'm making that mistake. There's a couple of these photos, but Daryl and Jennalia are on the left in this photo, moving in Daryl, Jennalia, Anadeli, Conklin. I don't know who that gentleman is next to him, but I'm assuming obviously. Oh no, I do know. That's Ian. That's their son. Oh, how wonderful! I'm so glad. This is such a gorgeous wedding. Happened in November of last year. All the fall colors I love. Wait, we've got another photo of the bride, and she's just gorgeous. Go to the next photo. Oh, maybe not. Okay, I'll do these out of order.
The bride is a unicorn chest burster. Is what it is.
Sparkle horse chest burster.
Oh my God, so incredible! It's incredible. Now this I would wear to a wedding right here.
Okay, these might be out of order. That's my bad. This cracked me up. So I'm pretty sure this is Daryl Harris's. Let me just double check. Yes, it's Daryl, who you just saw as the father of the bride in the photo before. If you guys don't know this, if you're just joining us this year, Daryl and Jennalia love the gear up for Christmas. They love the holidays. They wear different hats and sweaters and shirts and details all through December. And Daryl himself wears a different hat and tie as he goes out in the world in December every day. And this was, I think maybe a work Christmas party or something like that. And he called it the chest burster unicorn.
Wonderful. It's incredible.
We'll see what's next.
Oh, darn it. Here we go. Boom.
I have no idea what this is, but this is, I do know. This is Emma. You guys all know Emma Compton already. Emma Compton is Junkie Comptonius's daughter. On 11/28, it was her 18th birthday, and she's a big fan of the Siglerverse. She's a big fan of the Generations trilogy, and this is her getting ready to take a face-off during the varsity hockey game. She's the only one on her team. And I'm not sure, but I might have run one of her senior photos too.
Eric Fisher said that previous sweater, bursticorn.
Yeah.
Go back and check a look. That's the bursticorn.
That's the bursticorn.
And now next picture, you go.
Yeah, this is Emma's senior portrait. Emma is a spectacular student, and she's done really, really well in sports. Like I said, she's the only girl on her hockey team. And,
that's a mixed. That's a mixed hockey team.
Well, except for her, it's not. But with her,
it's a mixed hockey team.
Yeah, it's cool.
Okay,
Yep.
all right, cool. And then the last picture is.
We'll find out. Oh, this is Ollie Kirby. Let me find this. Oh, I have to find the. Here we go. This will take a minute to read, but it's super special, so I don't want to miss it. The long service, this is the Thursday before Thanksgiving of 2022. Ollie, who is there in the blue on the left, the very left thing in your photo, left person in your photo, was recognized by the Governor General of Australia for his long service to the Duke of Edinburgh's International Award. The Long Service Medal is awarded for 10 years of service, and the clasp is an additional 10 years. The 20 years of service to the Duke of Edinburgh's Award have been in the UK, New Zealand, and Australia, all with the respective Air Cadet organizations. Clara, who you see all the way on the right, who had a birthday on U.S. Thanksgiving. She's Australian, but her birthday is U.S. Thanksgiving last year. She turned 1. And Clara also got to meet His Excellency General, the Honorable David John Hurley, just before her first birthday.
Fabulous.
And in case you don't know, the Governor General of Australia is the representative of the monarch, who is, right at this moment, King Charles III.
Yeah, it's like some drama going on in the royal family. Who would have thought there'd be drama in the royal family? It's crazy.
Is that it? Are those the only
That's
photos?
it. Those are the 5 photos, yeah.
We, as we've been starting Slay, we've been a little bit slow with the junky photos and all that stuff. I've got a couple of Pupdates. Vaughn, I have yours, and I have a few more photos. I'm going to show you the beautiful Anna Deli in her wedding dress. It's just a gorgeous photo next week.
Yeah, I think the names got mixed. We'll get it next week.
Yeah, we'll get it next week.
Yeah,
and I've got a few more that came in. But as ever, if you want to send things, you know where to send it, to info@emptyset, and we'll get back to doing this as we get kind of back into a normal flow with this.
Info@emptyset.com. Boop, boop, boop. What was that we used to watch when we were kids? The boop bouncing ball.
I know it was
lyrics.
part of the Secret Garden, but it was probably part of a handful of stuff.
All right. And that is everything on the script, is it not, baby girl?
Well, I think
Q&A if there's time.
Siglerbrations, yeah, Q&A if there's time.
So, quick
we're
recap.
a little bit fast.
I will be re-recording that episode of Slay without an audience. So we try and get everything dialed in. And I have re-recorded episode 1 and 2. I still need to re-record episodes 2, 3, 4, and 5 now to get the video ready. It's when I get it right, it's not that big of a deal, but we're still, we keep running into all of the new stumbling blocks. We don't know what we don't know. We go to record and there's this little thing wrong or this little thing wrong. Or like today, the software just like, nay, you may not record this. For the first time in 4 years that we've been doing the show. Yeah, babe.
Sean Dyer, right, it's Zoom. I'm gonna zoom. That was one of my favorite shows.
Schoolhouse Rock too, apparently. All right, cool. Well, let's get a question, babe.
Okay, so if you guys have questions and you want to put them in the chat room, go ahead and do that.
I did mention. Okay, I asked if anybody knew the voices. Nobody guessed them because they're terrible impressions. So we will, but that's how all my voices start out. They're a terrible impression of someone doing an impression of someone famous. And then at least gets me into a unique space after doing maybe 1,000 voices over the years. I couldn't, a lot of goddamn voices. Magda is modeled after Wanda Sykes, who, as I'm writing the part, I've always envisioned Wanda Sykes in that role. And Dylan Cantrell is going to be Owen Wilson. Wow. So I got to work on my Owen Wilson impression a little bit. But wow.
He's been working today by doing. What did you just do?
Wow.
Wow.
Wow. Wow.
Took me a long time to know that was working on a voice.
Sometimes I come
because
downstairs.
Every answer was wow.
Wow. I come downstairs. I'm like, man, is there anything to drink in the fridge? It'd be great. It'd be great. Some lemonade, like I had when I was a kid. So she just gets dumped. These voices get dumped on her, so I can work on them. But we will. We'll get it. It'll be much better as we move forward.
I will tell you, there's a meme that floats around the internet every now and then. It shows up in Sigler Junkies every once in a while, and it sort of says like it's wild living with a writer because it's like pop quiz central all the time. You'll be making pancakes, and I'll come downstairs and say, "What do you think a one-handed weapon with a bladed edge is called?" And I think instantly I think the answer is axe, but I'm making pancakes, so I don't fucking know if that's the answer, right? I'm so stressed out because he would know the word axe, so he's not asking that.
You get this look on A. She does this, she goes, and then wait for it. Good.
So that happens all the time. Another thing when you work with a writer who also narrates his stories is... all of us, everybody who can hear my voice right now probably has a favorite line from a movie. Y'all all know what mine is. San Dimas High School Football Rules, right? I love that, right? And I use that. I actually used it in one of the failed casts earlier tonight to just be like, everything is cool, folks, whatever. But he will talk in voices, and I don't know if that's just, a quirk or practice or he wants me to evaluate. I don't know any of that. So every time he's like, wow. I'm like,
wow. David thought it was Luke Wilson. All right, I might check out Luke Wilson, see if I can do it better. And Lincoln, I started out, Lincoln is meant to be Bruce Willis, who doesn't, A and I were talking about this today, you see him in so many movies, and he's really doesn't have all that much distinctive to his voice. So what my button for Bruce Willis is, and a button is that little bit of dialogue I listen to or use to try and get concept of the character voice. So right now I'm walking around this going, come out to the coast, we'll have a few laughs. That's all I got.
And I had no idea that was Bruce Willis. Because here's the thing, Bruce Willis's tells or style or whatever is very visual too. You know, he does the mouth quirks and he rubs his chin a bunch and, you know, and so he sounds maybe more average Joe-ish, but when you see him, it gels together. I don't know. I'm also getting ready next week to re-record Alive and a Light. And one of the things about Alive and a Light, the reason that I recorded alone, had a lot to do with the characters had matured and grown up in the 2 years or handful of years, the 2 books, I mean, since before Alone. And so I'm going back and trying to find out what like a young Spingate might sound like or a young Gaston might sound like. And it's a little bit hard because it's also me having to youngify my voice. And Scott has a dozen years more experience than I do. So I've been asking him a ton of questions.
Quick question in the room. Bravos 1 asks, in the GFL, all the players' abilities are amplified as expected, and athletes like you can throw the ball 80-plus yards. Why is it the kickers can only make 40, maybe 50-yard field goals like outlined in the rookie?
This is a great question.
It's a very good question. The primary rule is because most of the other species are shitty kickers. They're not very good. And, you know, we're seeing people kick 63, 65-yard field goals. So that's a bit of a loophole. It's largely for the purpose. Go ahead, babe.
I was going to say, it's also like what you have to think about with a field goal is not just the ability of the kicker, but the physics of the ball in space, right? So we've seen it in the last few weeks in NFL, where if it's a cold, windy day and it's an outdoor stadium, those field goals are crazy because a lot of things affect that. And I appreciate that in the GFL, it's almost never an outdoor stadium. But the physics still apply. You have to choose, are you doing earth atmosphere? Are you doing whatever, all that
They're
stuff?
a hybrid, though, because all the stadiums are outdoors to some extent, because the stadiums are either so big and they're domed, there's still various air circulation inside. As the old Danny Baker and I would go to, games in the Pontiac Silverdome back in the day where the Lions used to play, there were rumors that if you got enough people to open enough doors on one side of the field, it would cause a draft to come through. So there are things like that. And then there are open air stadiums inside of a city dome, but there's
still an open air stadium.
But by and large, it's just, I don't know if any of you guys remember the movie Gus with the kicking donkey, the field goal kicking donkey. It was a Disney flick.
I do not.
Oyage! Gus, oyage! Look, you guys, get.
What is oyage?
Oh, I can't tell you.
Oh,
you guys,
spoiler alert.
if you've never watched Gus, the field goal kicking donkey, I highly advise you get your favorite cocktail and or any other intoxicant that you are a fan of. You have a lot of it.
Junkie gin,
and you go watch, I'm sure some of the chairmen have watched Gus. Because if you can kick a field goal from 70 yards out, and if you can kick a field goal from your own 30, the game becomes a lot less fun. So it changes the balance of the sport itself. So let's just assume the League of Planets that runs the GFL came up with some kind of rules. Also, I never talk about how big the ball is. I don't talk about the air density within the ball. Just like in the NBA, when they had to do something to increase the viewer attractiveness of outside shooting, and they added the 3-point line. Shoot, twice Gus together. They had the 3-point line, and then people started just, treating the 3-point line like a redhead stepchild. They had to move the 3-point line out. They've also had to expand the width of the lane because the average height of a player went from like 6'5" to like 6'8". People can just literally, within the lane, reach up and dunk. So people change rules based on the increasing physiology of the players. So let's just assume there's some rule changes. I haven't specified. That is why.
Yeah, and we have seen that in the NFL recently as well. I'll also say there's a few things that I believe are true that I guess I don't know are true. Here's the thing I know is true. In the GFL, they have agreed with the commissioner and the league that all time is reported in standard Earth time. And they use yards and imperial metrics for the purposes of honoring history. I think for me, I assumed that meant they also kind of followed a handful of the rules of engagement, but maybe that's not true. Maybe, I mean, theoretically, if they're in a domed city somewhere in the galaxy, even if it's an open air stadium, they could make a perfect day on purpose. They could just choose it. And I have assumed that they didn't, but maybe they do. I don't know.
Let's see if I can find a movie poster for Gus.
I laughed my butt off because my brother said in the Facebook chat room that he and I have watched this movie, Gus, that I don't recall at all, together.
Dude, you're, honest to God. I wish I'd known this before I proposed to you. I swear to God.
Listen.
It's awful. It's just terrible.
Listen, I barely remember my childhood. I only remember my brother and my mom and a handful of other traumatic things.
Here we go. Do we have it? Yes, this is
Walt Disney Productions.
Ladies and gentlemen,
Is
Walt
that a
Disney
donkey?
Productions. Yeah, I told you it's a field goal kicking donkey. It's like you don't ever listen to anything I say.
I didn't realize he was the hero of the movie. Is the donkey's name Gus?
The donkey is named Gus.
For fuck's sake.
Oyage. Also, ladies and gentlemen, a spectacular performance by one of the most dominating linebackers to ever play the game, Dick Butkus. Dick Butkus is in this.
Is the guy on the right, the bald guy on the right, Dabney Coleman?
I don't remember.
No,
We're going to get high and watch this.
Oh, my goodness. Ed Asner's in it.
Ed
Don
Asner.
Knotts is in it.
Don Knotts,
Tim Conway is in it.
Oh, Tim Conway,
If you're anywhere
bitches.
near my age, you're like, oh, the Carol Burnett show did this. It's great.
I don't know. I don't know how to fucking fix this shit. So there we go. You guys should all go out and watch Gus if you love your football.
We should see if this is streaming anywhere and watch it on
Yeah,
Cast.
somebody
We should watch it on Cast.
We should watch it on Cast. It's a great idea. Somebody in the chat room said, like, is it streaming on Disney Plus? I'm like, how the fuck would I know? I don't fucking know if the field goal kicking donkey movie's streaming on goddamn Disney. I don't have any idea.
We are pals, good pals, with the people who run the platform called Cast with a K, Cast.
Yeah, this will be our first one.
And the Cast is essentially
our first one is The Princess Bride, since I've never watched The Princess Bride.
That's fair.
Oops, that's
is essentially
Cast,
I think
was
cast.com, cast.org, I don't know.
Good, keep talking.
But they're San Diego based. They're lovely, lovely people, and they kind of it's several things. Letterbox is a thing about is letting you list all your favorite movies, and people can watch them in the format that you love them. Cast. You can watch together and comment together. So it's essentially a live stream like this, but it has a comment I believe it has a comment section.
Looks like Cast.
So you guys can share.
Cast.gg. Cast.gg. It was something else before. But
Anyhow, we may do this for Cast. Scott is right. We absolutely need to watch The Princess Bride first. We'll get it on Cast. We'll tell you how to do that. We'll talk to our pals, Mark and Elena, and see how we do that. Because this platform is wonderful, and it's a lot like this that got us through these hard few years together where we could sort of interact. And it'll be the same. Like, we won't be on the screen. I don't think.
I don't know how it works.
But the movie will be on the screen, and we can all talk to each other, and you can probably hear our voices, is my guess. But we'll do it together.
Yeah, we'll do it live. We'll do it together.
Dan Baker, how do you know that he's never seen The Princess Bride?
I've never seen it. I've seen clips. I've never seen the movie all the way through. Never seen the movie all the way through. I admit
I
it.
know Shannon. He's going to be so excited about the ROUSs. He's totally going to be excited about those. Anyhow,
Is that the one with like I am something something and you killed my brother? Is it that movie?
that's the same movie.
Okay.
I am Inigo Montoya. You killed my father. Prepare to die.
Prepare to die. Okay, I've seen
Mandy Patinkin.
I've seen the sword fight. Does that count? Does that count?
The swashbuckling.
Swashbuckling. Well,
Why
guys,
can't I say that word without?
let's do one question from your list, Pumpkin, and
Well,
then
we're staying. I told them we were staying on until 7:15
then
because we
let's-
were late.
Let's go.
Yeah?
Let's get to it.
Let's see. Do we have any more?
Karen, that's your dog's name. Karen's dog name is Gus. Listen, Karen, let me give you a little insight. As a professional dog trainer, going on now 45 years of being a master of the craft, what you need to do is teach your dog Gus how to kick field goals. Teach him up how to kick field goals. If the dog can close from like, let's say, like a 37 to 45 yarder, you're going to make some bucks. If you can teach that dog to kick from 53 to 58, let me tell you something. You're going to be in the money.
Now,
and since the dog can't sign a contract, you can. Yeah, what's up? Getting all them bucks. All right, go ahead, baby.
I'm going to say this. Sean Dyer makes a very good point in the chat room. Don't spoil Scott too much because it'll be joyful to, do that while we're watching all together on Cast in sometime in the next few months.
For shizzle.
Also,
For shizzle, my nizzle. Let's go.
let's see.
All right, we got a question?
Yes, let me find the questions. I did not print those out. They're here because they always change.
Shoop, shoopy doop, shoop. Woo!
So this is a specifically interesting question to ask you this particular week.
Okay.
And I'm choosing it on purpose, this particular week where you have been unwell.
Okay, hit me.
Does writing energize or exhaust you?
It's a 50-50. It's a coin toss. There are times when writing, because I've talked about my ADD issues on this cast a bunch. When the writing energizes me, it's more of going into a hyper focus. Mm-hmm. So I'll get a hyper focus and 3-4 hours will go by like that and I'll have no idea. And I'll lean back from the screen and be like, holy cow, I really have to pee super bad. And then I will go pee because that's what you do when you have to pee really bad. But I don't think it ever really exhausts me. What does get tiresome is the frustration level with not creating the work I know that is there. I can't quite get my head around it. And what also exhausts me is the same ADD the other way. When I'm trying to put these big picture plots together and I write on note cards, I write and remember the milk, I write in emails to myself, I text myself. I have all these different ways to try and keep things front of mind. I'm like, oh, this is dope. I got to remember this so I can do this in chapter 8 because I finished up chapter 3. And then I got to go back to chapter 1 and change this. And not being able, and then the amount of information I lose just trying to track all the stuff that goes on in my head. It's a fucking shit show up there. It's crazy. I keep trying to find this clip from Happy where he's the main character in Happy is extremely high and walking around downtown New York in a tutu of all things, and all the hallucinations going through his head. I can't find the clip anywhere.
We might just have to watch the
we might have to rip
together.
It.
Yeah.
We might have to watch that on cast. When we were watching that show together, that comes on, and I said to A, like, you want to know what it's like in my head? That's what it's like in my head all the fucking time. And she was like, oh,
and
okay.
This was, I'm not even sure we were dating. We might have been just dating, right? Because, of course, you guys may or may not know, but most of you know, but some people might be new. We had a business for almost a decade before we ever had a personal relation or a romantic relationship. And so that we might have watched Happy even before or maybe we were just dating, I'm guessing. We were maybe just dating. And I will be honest with you guys. If you are a person with ADHD or you love a person with ADHD and you are not ADHD, I will give this advice to both of those versions. Me as a person who absolutely loved Scott for a decade before I fell in love with Scott, I would have told you if you'd asked me, yeah, it's really, you got to make some accommodation. Like we both have to work together to make the best product because his mind is different than my mind. Yeah. If you are a quote unquote, neurotypical person and you really want to commute and commune with an ADHD person, you just have to admit that you think you know, but you have to find out. You have to make sure you know, because there are so many things that I thought I knew for sure. And then when we got married, I've told this story before on the cast, but I'll tell it, and it's a perfect encapsulation of this. I had already seen the Happy thing. It had revealed 1,000 things to me. And then in the pandemic, when we moved into just this house and we got married and we gave up the office and his apartment, all the things, I bought a bread box that said bread in 3-inch high white letters. And he lost 5 pounds in the 2 months I had it, because he forgot that bread was there. And that is the most, that and the happy scene, this, that is not, I can't plug into that. My brain doesn't work that way. So I have to just respect that our brains are different, and that's fine. And it was very, very revealing. It was very, very good and revealing, I think.
Here's a great site. Anybody, if you have loved ones with ADD or ADHD, go to attitude.com. Actually, attitude, ADDITUDE.com. We'll take you there. We'll rebounce there. Lots of fun stuff. Lots of cool stuff. And a lot of articles by people who have kids or loved ones with ADD and ADHD, etc. So it's cool.
Since we got married, we've both shared several articles from here that sort of resonate with us. And sometimes it's this is a big thing for you. I didn't realize that this was a big thing for you moment. So it's pretty good.
All right, next question, babe. I believe I answered the question. Yes. So writing The constant cycle of flu from my head, that's what tires my ass out. It makes me super grumpy. Because if I could control that, I know I could write so much more good stuff for you guys, but some of it gets lost in the wash.
So I love this. It can be about writing, but I'm going to ask you to see if you can give me this question not about your writing process.
Okay.
Tell us something unique or quirky. Tell us about a unique or quirky habit that you have.
I don't know any. Do I have any habits?
You have a lot of habits, but the reason I ask this is for writing, there are a few that I can talk about. And with your permission, I'll talk about them. They're pretty high level. One is Scott needs a little bit of frittering time in the morning when he sits down right here, because I am in his seat when he's writing. He is in his seat when he is in the seat he sits in, or the space he sits in when he's doing anything other than writing, like processing videos, setting up for the podcast. I'm right here where he writes, because he has his laptop right here where my computer currently is. He has to fritter around. He has to set up everything. He has to check a few websites. He has to kind of circle the rabbit hole before he goes down it. And once he says, okay, focus, then he might write for 5 hours in a row and forget to pee and forget to eat and forget everything but coffee. Everything but coffee.
Coffee, there's my habit. I got to have
he's got a coffee
pretty much
habit.
a pot of coffee before I get to work.
That said, this is such a fun thing because I, as a absolutely not writer, have a million habits to support him. I make sure the counters are it's weird little things that he will do, but he'll do them because he does them for me. Like if the kitchen counters aren't clean and dishes aren't put away, he'll do that. And it'll take away from his workday because he'll do it because he's like, oh, I'm not sure what happened, but I'll do this. So I support his writing by a handful of habits every day that I call the Mr. Rogers tours. Because you remember Mr. Rogers used to come in, put on his sweater and slippers, leave, take off his sweater and slippers, do all that. So I have front of day things I do and end of day things I do. So it's funny because I think his support system does that for him, but I think his only habit is coffee. What do you think?
Pretty much. That's all I can think of.
Yeah, that's all I can think of.
That's a good question from Sean.
Yeah.
In the chat room, Sean asks, how edible to humans are each of the alien species we've encountered in the GFL?
That's a great question.
E.g., are Rewall or Kurgrik toxic? Rewall and Kurgrik are absolutely toxic. Good luck not having your mouth melt in a bad way when you have those species. Sklorno are very edible, and humans are very edible to Sklorno. So as we start to get deeper into the books of the Crypt series, you're probably going to be seeing some absolute brutal shit going on down there. The key eat us, no problem. Key humans, no problem. Key humans eating key takes a little bit more work. You got to detoxify that meat, but you can get away with that. Hara are not edible to us. I'm trying to go through the other major species. Of course, if you're cannibals, Heavy G are edible by humans, and humans are edible by Heavy G. If they went into that. And as
Tastes
for
like chicken.
Tastes like chicken. And I think the Quith probably just taste very, very bad. But they are probably edible in a pinch. Bravos1 on Twitch asks, do we taste like chicken?
Assuredly.
We taste like pork, bro. We taste like long pork, my friend.
Although I believe
pork.
the survivors in the movie Alive,
Yep.
that Chilean soccer team,
Yep.
they said it tasted like food.
Yeah, well,
And they could,
when you're that hungry.
Yeah.
Well, I once went 3 days without food and water to make weight for a wrestling match in college.
I'm so glad you're still here.
The meal I had after making weight was college cafeteria chicken on a biscuit. To this day, it remains the most spectacular meal I have ever had. I don't think anything will ever touch it. And I love food. I love a lot of the stuff I eat. But that meal, spectacular. Spectacular. All right, next one more question?
One more question?
Sure,
okay.
we'll do one more.
Well,
So I didn't mean to step on you. You want to cut out?
Yeah, well, I picked a heavy question. Let me see.
Vaughn, I believe that Sklorno tastes like crab. It tastes like crab or shrimp, somewhere along those lines.
I did read an article today that said most people identify the favorite shellfish as crab, not lobster, even though lobster is more expensive and more rare.
Well, there you go. Crab, because crab's much better than lobster. I love crab way more than lobster.
Exactly. Yeah,
most
people do.
Yeah.
So Vaughn, I'm not sure if you're here at the top of the hour because we had a few tops of the hour, but I will get to your photos next week. Thank you for sending them. I think we'll end right now.
Let's finish up once again. If you have victories in your life to share, send them to info@emptyset. We would have happy
Photos
to
are
do
always
that.
appreciated.
We either get you a shout out in here, give you a shout out in the chat room, one of the two. You can photos of anything that's going on in your life. Email that right there. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for bearing with us on this spotty episode number 5 of the Live Read for Crypt. Again, we'll be back next week. We will start the show at 6 p.m., maybe a smidgen earlier with the intro screen. And then the story timer will start from 6 at 6:05. Pardon me. We will read. Hopefully I will not be sick. Hopefully I have the technical problems figured out. Now I'm going to go have a scotch and play some Fortnite because I'm fucking exhausted. I'm not going to lie to you.
Shannon Bethany, that's a great question. I'm going to copy it. We're not going to answer it this week because he's been sick all week. This is the first big timed thing you've done, right?
Yes,
for 3 days.
Today's been the first work.
But that's a
I've done
great
this
question,
week.
so I've got it, and I'll write it down, and we'll answer it in a future episode. But until then, we will be back.
We'll be back, on January 16th for SLAY Part 6.
I think it's
Whether the technology... What's that?
Is it 16th?
January 18th. You got it.
You said
Today's the
17th.
January 18th. We'll be back. SLAY Part 6. Until then, we want you to stay smart.
We need you to stay science, guys. If you're in the Northern Hemisphere, we're 2 months out from the end of the triple-demic, at least. So be careful.
And for the love of science who want to stay informed, I'm informing you right now that that COVID is not the only thing out there. You can get a wonderful version of Concrud from doing absolutely nothing whatsoever.
I have one last question.
Yes, darling.
Do you have COVID?
No, I don't. We're going to test again probably tomorrow, but I do not have COVID.
Yep. Doesn't have RSV, didn't have a fever, doesn't have flu, doesn't
It's a
have any of
regular
those
goddamn
symptoms.
cold, you guys.
He has just a normal coronavirus, and he took a
It's a
sick
coronavirus
day.
that just, boom, right in the balls. Bang! Little pop in the, beanbag shot.
So we'll be back next week. We love you. You guys stay safe. You guys stay healthy. And enjoy
We
SLAY.
clearly got to look at the paste. Look at these pasty people. Tell you what, man, we're like ghosts. All right. Thanks for hanging out with us. We will see you again next week. I had fun, even though I screwed a couple things up. And you know what? You can all kiss off into the sky.